This is Brother Peter with tidbits from the Word. So proud to be with you today. We are covering today some things that I said before, especially if you're not a scholar of the Bible, are controversial in the Christian church today because people have not dug in, have not got the real understanding of who Jesus is, how he works, who God is, how God works, and how he was before there ever was a was, and how he is before there ever is an is, and before there ever will be, he will be. And so he always was and he always will be, and we are finite. At best, you and I on this earth today, and there are a handful of people that live over 100 today, but the majority have a maximum of 100 years. And the actual majority of them today, people are dying between 69 and 74, and the older people. And so the younger people today are dying before the age of 60. And they are killing themselves off by their manner of living, the way they live. They have been brought up drinking double colas for breakfast, Coca-Colas, and this new fad of drinking these high-powered drinks that have absolutely positively nothing for nourishment for your body. They're nothing but they just make you go and do nothing for you, and when they're gone, you're depleted, and your life is going to be cut short because of that. Now, the scripture talks about the second advent of Christ. Now, this is not the rapture. I talked about the rapture in the last excerpt on the 17th day of 12/12. I talked about the rapture. And this is the 17th day of 12/12, and I'm talking about the second advent. And so if you look up the 17th day, you can find these. All right, it said, one like the Son of Man came in the clouds of heaven and came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him. And there was given him dominion and glory, and a kingdom shall all people, nations, and language shall serve him. And that is in the book of Daniel. And that is the first prophecy coming to us about the day of the Lord. The Ancient One, God himself, coming on that day through his Son, Jesus Christ, being the captain of all, riding on a white horse, coming with an army. The army are those who were raptured in the first advent. That is the catching away of the church that we talked about earlier. And then shall the Lord go forth and fight against those nations. His feet shall stand in the day upon the Mount of Olives, which shall cleave in the midst thereof toward the east and toward the west. The Lord my God shall come, and all the saints with thee. All those saints now, all of the saints that were ever from the day one, Adam 1, all the way through to this advent after the 7-year tribulation, as Jesus is going to come and he's going to stand on the Mount of Olives. Now, can you picture this? The eastern gate, which has never been opened, now has not been opened for thousands of years, is going to break open. When he puts his foot on the north and south side of the city of Jerusalem, facing east and west, and he puts a little pressure on his feet, he's going to split the earth open. And as the earth splits open, the eastern gate will open. And this is going to be the beginning of the day of the Lord coming on the earth. And he is going to do away at the Battle of Armageddon. He is going to do away with the evil on this earth for 1,000 years. For 1,000 years there's going to be rule on this earth as a rod of iron. A rod of iron. That means nobody will get away with anything. They will not get away with anything. Immediately after the tribulation, then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. Matthew 24, 29 through 31. Let's take a look at this. These are the 12 tribes of Israel. These are the Jewish nation. Here, we're talking about. He is over at the Mount of Olives. Where is he? He's in the Jewish nation. There are 144,000 Jewish men who have never known a woman, who are virgins, the Bible said, who will be preachers in that day, will be ministers of that day. They are chosen. And where are they chosen from? From the 12 tribes of Israel. From the 12 tribes of Israel. 144,000. That is a gross in dozens. All right. Let's go to the fourth thing that we're going to see here. When the Son of Man shall come. He's going to come in his glory. When he comes, he's going to come in his glory. And all the holy angels are going to be with him. All the holy angels, the host, an innumerable number of holy angels will be with him too, as well as you and I, as well as those who have gone on before, and the angels with him. Then shall he sit upon a throne of his glory, and before him shall be gathered all nations. Now he's going to gather all nations of the earth, past, present, and future, before him. Where are all of those nations today? They are kept in a timeless capsule that God has. God has a timeless capsule that he can reveal all of those nations before and in the world. He can reveal those at any time that he chooses to. Now, where is he going to sit upon this throne? He's going to sit upon it in the city, the New Jerusalem. The New Jerusalem, he is going to sit on a throne. Now, the New Jerusalem is some 1,500 miles square. It's a cube. And it's some 1,500 by 1,500 by 1,500 miles. You and I, who have gone on in the first advent, will occupy a mansion in that city. We will occupy a mansion in that city. And now, we read that by studying the Bible. Now let's look at 2 Thessalonians, 1 and 7. It said, when the Lord shall be revealed from heaven with his mighty angels, and the flaming fire, taking vengeance on them that know not God. All right, do you know what that just said? That clarified it. That all of those that are here on the earth then, at that point in time, they know not God. They do not know God. Now, fire is a redempting thing. Fire redeems stuff. You can take some gold that is ore. It hasn't been redeemed yet. Then throw that ore in a hot enough fire. When it drizzles out the other end, it becomes 999 on 100% pure gold. Pure gold. Fire burns off the dross. Now, we talked about over in the rapture, the eyes of Jesus being as a flame of fire, burning off the dross of man, the wood, hay, and stubble. When man enters heaven, he's entering as pure gold, silver, and precious stones. Gold, silver, and precious stones. That's how he has entered and into heaven. As gold, silver, and precious stone. And let's look at another thing here. The Lord cometh with 10,000s of his saints. That is an innumerable number of his saints. Back in the Bible day, writing the Bible, they didn't have a number that said trillions. They didn't have a number for trillions. But there are going to be trillions come with Jesus at that time. And the Lord cometh with his trillions. It says 10,000s. What he's saying here is his trillions. What it says in the Bible there, it says thousands of thousands upon thousands by thousands of thousands. And so they didn't have the word trillion. So we do. So there are going to be trillions with him. And that's in Jude 14:15. And then the last thing we're going to see here is how is he going to come. And look at this. He cometh with the clouds, okay, That means he's coming out of the sky. That's where the clouds are, in the sky. And every eye shall see him. Every eye shall see him, and the armies that follow him upon white horses. Is there going to be horses in heaven? Why, yes, there is. And they're going to be upon white horses. They're going to be on white horses. This army of people are going to be on white horses. And by the way, this army of people just absolutely, positively has to be the saints that have gone on before. Because the only people in heaven are people that have been called up there through the rapture of Jesus Christ. They're the only people up there. Because God created man for earth, and he created earth for man, but then he made him a heavenly abode, which is eternal. And when man passes away here, he is translated to heaven, and he's going to have this same body, and he's going to live forever in this same body, and he's going to have the functions of this body, as Jesus did when he came back on the earth. Only he's going to have more power than he ever had on this earth to be able to do things that he couldn't do on this earth. Now, because we're going to be on horses right there, we're going to be kind of in a stream, in a captive situation, and only do what the captain of the guard says, which is Jesus Christ, to do. And these armies are going to come down, and they're going to war that big battle of Armageddon. And then the beginning of the great millennial reign is going to take place. For 1,000 years, the day of the Lord is going to be on this earth, ruled with a rod of iron. And you say, Peter, who are those people? I don't know, but you know one thing I know? The Bible said there'll be no death in that time. And that means that if you're going to live 1,000 years, and you're a man, and you have a wife, and you have children, that within 20 years, those children are going to be having children. And within 20 years, those children are going to be having children. Within 20 years, those children are going to be having children. And you're talking about 1,000 years. That's 5 generations. Every 100 years, there'll be 5 generations, all still having children. And the first generation will still be having children at 100 years old. They'll still be developing children. Do you know what that tells me? That tells me that when the 1,000-year reign ends, this earth will be 100% totally populated again. 100% totally populated at the end of that 1,000 years. And God and Jesus Christ are going to reap a reign, another reign of another 100 generations of people, 500 generations of people. If 100 years is 5 generations, there'll be 1,000 generations of people. There are 1,000 years. There'll be 1,000 generations of people on this earth. This earth will be 100%. It'll look like ants. It will be 100% covered in 1,000 years. And by the way, 1,600 years after Adam was the flood. And by the way, in that 1,600 years, this earth was populated. This earth was covered all the way around. This earth was 100% covered at that time when the great flood took place and God had to destroy it. And on that second time around, after that 1,000 years, that devil's going to be loose for a few minutes. And he's going to take a multitude with him. That's hard to believe. It's hard to believe after the people have seen the glory of God and they reject it. The angels saw the glory of God and rejected it, and many of them did. An innumerable number, a third part of an innumerable number of angels rejected God in heaven and ended up following a deceiver. Be careful today, my friend. There are many deceivers out there. Be careful today. You do not be deceived. It is in Jesus Christ. It is saying, Jesus, I realize I'm a sinner. Forgive me of my sin. Come into my heart and save my soul. And that's for every single solitary body on this earth that wants to go to heaven. And in this nation, the American nation, that would be from the president down. In another nation, it would be from the king down. In another nation, it would be from the queen down. That is anybody, no matter of their status, their height, where they are in the system. They have to have the same statement from the top down. Jesus, forgive me, I am a sinner. Come into my heart and save my soul. This is Brother Peter, Tidbits from the Word. See you next time. Bye-bye.